any action on matters discussed that are not on this agenda. No adverse conclusion should be drawn if the council does not respond to public comment at this time. Is there anyone wishing to address the council?
Good afternoon. My name is Omer Javed. I'm here on behalf of the Madeira Islamic Center and the community of Chowchilla. Today I'm here to bring some awareness to what's going on in Palestine. Also in local communities, I don't know if anybody here has heard, we passed a resolution in Madeira to call for a ceasefire. Today you guys will hear from some local citizens, the local community. As you guys can see, we have a packed house. I received a comment from somebody here in Chowchilla that usually you guys don't take international matters, or you guys don't consider stuff like that for proclamations, but this issue is affecting your guys' local community. There's probably more than 20 or 30 people here, and it's affecting all of them in many different ways. So today you guys will hear about some of the history, how many people have passed away, and some potential solutions. So if we could we please have the first speakers come up? Thank you.
Hello, members of the council. My name is Chowchilla, and I'm a Palestinian American. I'm here today to urge you to call for a ceasefire in Palestine and give you some history on the matter. This is an issue that did not start on October 7th. The beginning of it traces back to World War II. At this time, Britain needed support during the war and looked to Jewish people for support in return for, and I quote, the establishment in Palestine of a national home for the Jewish people. This was written in the British Balfour Declaration in 1917, and the issue with this is that Palestine was already inhabited by the Palestinians. This is just another case of British colonization, as Britain was notorious for. Jewish immigration grew between 1922 to 1947 and went from being less than 10% in 1917 to 30% by 1947. The immigration had exceeded its limits, and there was still more to come. In 1948, the State of Israel was officially established at the cost of 15,000 Palestinian lives, in what is known as the Nakba, which translates to the catastrophe. 750,000 Palestinians from a population that was 1.9 million became refugees, and more than 78% of historic Palestine was ethnically cleansed. The Palestinian people have been seeking independence and resisting, and I use the word resisting, because they have been under oppression for many years. In 1987, the first Intifada, meaning uprising, began. It consisted of strikes and boycotts, and it only was met with more violence from the Israeli government. In 2000, the second Intifada began after years of a stalled peace process and increasing illegal settlement expansion on Palestinian land. The peaceful protests of Palestinians were ignored and met with violence, leading to a stronger uprising from Palestinians. Neither of the Intifadas stopped illegal settlement and Israeli control over Palestine as we see today. The Palestinian people are calling for help, and the world continues to ignore them. As Americans, it is part of our history to rebel against oppression, as stated in our very own Declaration of Independence. So why is it different when it is the Palestinians calling for help? I urge you all to vote yes to adopt a proclamation for a ceasefire and join with other cities such as our neighbor Madeira to make a change. Thank you.
Anyone else wishing to speak?
We have about 3 or 4 speakers. Thank you.
Good afternoon, members of the council. My name is Alam Sheikh, and I am Palestinian American, and I have been a member of the Chowchilla community for the past 20 years. Thank you for giving me the time to speak. We are here today to address one of the most pressing and enduring conflicts of our time. The situation in Palestine. For far too long, the people of Palestine have endured unimaginable suffering, deprived of their basic human rights and dignity. As we stand here, countless families continue to face harsh realities of occupation, displacement, and violence. The plight of the Palestinian people cannot be ignored or overlooked any longer. We cannot turn a blind eye to the injustices they face on a daily basis. It is our moral obligation to speak out against oppression and to advocate for a just and lasting solution to the conflict. We are here to urge the City Council of Chowchilla to stand on the right side of history and to request that the Council submit a resolution in support of a permanent ceasefire, including the immediate and unhindered passage of humanitarian aid into Gaza, a release to all the Israeli and Palestinian hostages, and an end to the U.S. military aid funding using our tax dollars. There are currently 2.3 million civilians in Gaza in dire need of life-saving aid. They are being collectively punished and in desperate need of humanitarian aid that is being blocked. As you know, we have entered the month of Ramadan, and although this is usually a joyous month, it is a dark and gloomy month in Gaza. This is a year of genocide with a genocidal assault targeting Gaza's entire population. Children and elderly alike continues. Bombs dropped on crowded civilian areas, all while Palestinians are being deprived of food, water, and more. This Ramadan, people in Gaza have little to no food to break their fast as Palestinians continue to starve to death. Already, at least 21 children have been killed through deliberate starvation. No one should be forced to endure such horrific conditions, let alone as they absorb their holidays. Since October 7th, almost 32,000 have been killed, of which 364 medical crews, 133 journalists, 13,430 children, 8,900 women. These numbers do not include those missing and those under the rubble. I hope you can find the courage to stand for those who can't stand up for themselves. And I hope that your lives never have to depend on someone else speaking up for you. Thank you.
Good evening, City Council members. I'm reaching out to you today as I feel complicit. Thus, I am compelled to draw attention and address the devastating genocide happening in Gaza, Palestine, which has resulted in significant loss of life. Thousands injured, displacement of families, indiscriminate destruction of communities, critical facilities, churches, and mosques. The ongoing hostilities have not only caused immense suffering, but also hinders the delivery of essential humanitarian aid to those in dire need. Access to food, clean water, medical supplies, shelters becoming nearly non-existent, exacerbating an already dire humanitarian crisis. Some of the statistics have already been said, but in addition to those, an estimated 60,000 pregnant women in Gaza suffer from malnutrition, dehydration, and lack of medical care. 12 of 35 hospitals are partially only functioning. Now I understand this is international, right? But the situation not only affects those directly involved, but also has broader implications for us here with the role of U.S. financial assistance in this matter. It's crucial to recognize the United States tax dollars significantly contribute to this situation. Annually, the United States allocates approximately $3.8 billion in military aid to Israel. Largest amount of aid to any country from the United States, an estimated $300 billion since 1948. Funds which could potentially be redirected towards humanitarian aid, or imagine their transformative impact if our tax dollars went from supporting to a genocide or an occupation to investing back into our communities domestically, directly benefiting American citizens first in numerous ways. Whether it's improvements in education, city infrastructure, economic development, farm production and wages, veteran services, the list goes on. I believe that our city can serve as another example of compassion and leadership. I'm respectfully requesting that the City Council issue a formal statement or proclamation calling for immediate ceasefire for all parties to be safe. Such a gesture would demonstrate your commitment to us in the community, to each other, and our core family and humanitarian values. Additionally, it could encourage our national leaders to engage more actively internationally to provide humanitarian aid and domestic efforts to invest in the country's health, education, and future. Regardless of political opinion, we cannot ignore this. We cannot be complicit. We are invested in and passionate about our communities and heritage. May I continue with the last?
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Good evening. Good evening. I'm here to talk about the situation in Gaza and how I believe you guys should help us send a resolution for a ceasefire immediately, not only as for us, but as a humanitarian issue. See, I came in here with all these statistics about Gaza, but I'm gonna throw it all out as you guys have already heard all three of them speak about it. And I really wanted to relate to you guys specifically, Americans who have no idea about maybe some of the things actually happening over there or never been there. See, in Gaza, 300,000 homes have been completely destroyed. And if you were to put that in ratio to America, that would be 164,009,200 homes here in America. So if you really try to put these numbers in perspective, like I have, and will have continuing with these kind of numbers, it really shows the real damage that is truly happening and how it affects you guys as well. In America, if these numbers were to happen in American ratio numbers, the total number killed in Gaza would be about 32,000 right now, and in America it would be 3,982,000, which is more than the entire population of Los Angeles. So when we come in here desperately asking for you guys' help, it may not seem a lot for you guys to send in a peaceful ceasefire resolution, but it truly does, especially since Chowchilla, California is actually 19th in the state in population Palestinian ratio. So it means a lot. You guys have a huge population here in Chowchilla. Chowchilla may not be a huge city, but there's actually a great population here that resides here that would truly mean a lot for you guys just to do this peaceful resolution. This is incredibly important to all of us as humans, as Palestinians. We need to see this end. This affects you guys as citizens. This is affecting us on a daily basis, including myself. This is really like on an everyday basis, I cannot stop thinking about. It's not easy to know that on every second, someone else's house is getting bombed while you sleep. And on every second, when you're eating something that you really think is enjoyable, you choose not to enjoy the food because somebody else in Gaza does not have enough food for the week. And this really affects all of us, and we all ask you guys to please help us sign this peaceful ceasefire resolution in Gaza. Thank you.
Good evening, Mayor Smith, Mayor Pro Tem Ahmed, council members. I have the distinct honor of being the mayor of the city of Madera, and I am here on a humanitarian mission. You see, a little bit of my history. As a young man at Fresno State, I was invited to Mexico City to discover my roots. We had never been to Mexico. Our family was really not well off. And so while I was there, I met some international students who were studying medicine and actually graduating from medical school. And one of them invited me to house sit while he and his parents were going to go sabbatical in Spain. So I actually got to live in a home by myself in Central America for the summer. While I was there, I met a refugee Palestinian family who had left Palestine and who were now making a new living in Central America. They had a little boy, he was running around everywhere all the time making racket and stuff, and the two parents introduced me to the rest of their family. One day, I couldn't get out of bed. I had contracted malaria, and I was dehydrated, I hadn't eaten, and on the third day, the little boy heard me as I yelled asking for help. So this family of Palestinians got me to the hospital and got me treated and got me well. And the doctor says, a couple of more days like this, and you probably would have had really serious medical problems for the rest of your life, or you probably would have died. So when this new crisis began, And my fellow Madeirans came to me, Omer came to me first, and then Mr. Yasir, and they said, is there any way possible that you can talk to the city council about our situation and ask for a ceasefire? So I brought that to a couple of my council members, and we started talking about the wording. And the wording was crucial because there was two things that come out of that document. The first is a ceasefire immediately. And the second is the release of all hostages, regardless of their origin. The rest of the wording, we changed. We had to go back and forth regarding the wording. Because this is not about politics. This is not about taking sides. We didn't point fingers in that document. We were able to come up with this document that we passed 7-0 because we all worked together on making sure we were comfortable with the language. And the language was immediate ceasefire and release of all hostages. This makes it possible to get the negotiations started. And as you can see, international, that's beginning to happen. Thank you very much. Thank you. I really appreciate you giving me this.
Good evening, Mayor, Council members. Thank you, Mr. Santos. I don't want to go through what's happening over there, but I don't know if any of you have ever lived during a war. I lived through 3 of them by the time I was 8. And I can tell you it's not fun. It's scary. As a child, it's horrible. I was thinking of my father, and I'm sure most of you guys are parents, mothers, fathers. It's not about worrying what toy to get your kid. It's not about worrying what food you get your kid right now. Right now, a Palestinian parent is worried when their kid will die. That's why they're writing their names on their limbs. So when they are decapitated, they put the hands and legs together and the heads so they can figure out if it's their child or somebody else's child. Now again, we are asking for a resolution that's different from Oakland, San Francisco, and everyone. We are asking for the resolution Madeira passed, which is ceasefire in all of Gaza, exchange the hostages, or the hostages, and end this crazy genocide and provide humanitarian, help for the Palestinians and those who are affected. We need to end this war because I have a friend who's from SEAL Team 3. They were dispatched there as well. We need those people back. We need this war to end. With your resolution added to the other resolutions we were able to get, we can pressure Sacramento and the rest of the nation to help us adopt a ceasefire resolution. It's not political, it has nothing to do with politics, has nothing to do with picking sides. It has to do with having a human heart. We are the first people to provide help to any disaster in the universe. Even if it's a country we bombed, like Haiti, we're the first to go provide humanitarian aid. Think of it as the same. I urge all of you guys and I ask to please help us vote and pass on a resolution. Thank you.
Anyone else wishing to speak?
I'm very nervous. I don't do this. I wasn't planning. They don't even know that I'm actually speaking, but I just wanted to speak from the heart. I grew up in Chowchilla. I'm Palestinian, born in Palestine. My kids grew up in Chowchilla. My kids' probably gonna grow up in Chowchilla. We, like my son, that's my son that spoke, the tall one. 19% of the highest population in the States is the Palestinian population in Chowchilla. We have contributed 0 of that in violence. So we have contributed nothing but peace to Chowchilla. And that's all we're here for, peace. You might ask, what does that have to do with us? America's providing the bombs. America's stopping the aid from going in. So when we say kids or children or women are dying from hunger, they're literally dying from hunger. We know some of those people. Some of them are our family. That's our homeland. I was born in Palestine. I cannot, the number one thing that I've heard growing up was, go back where you came from. Well, guess what? I can't go back where I came from. I'm not allowed to live where I come from. I'm not allowed to have a Palestinian passport. You know why? Or identity. Because of Israel, because they will not let me have one. I am forced to be a refuge. I am born in Palestine and can only go visit my homeland as a visitor. Only if approved by Israel as a visitor, and only for the amount of time that they allow it. So imagine if I told you you're an American, but you cannot have American citizenship and you cannot live in America. This did not start on October 7th. This started in 1948. 1948 is when the occupation on Palestinian began. There was no Hamas in 1948. There was no Hamas in 1949, 50, 51, 52, 53. There was no Hamas for over 30 years. So what's happening right now is not because of what Hamas did. Hamas is only the excuse. And if there was no Hamas, they would find a different pretext to do what they're doing. This is land grab, this is an illegal occupation, and these are war crimes. Starving children to death is a war crime. And we are funding it. You and I are funding this. 10 million a day is going directly to fund their army, and while their children have free education, free housing, and free healthcare, our kids don't, right? None of us get that for free. Our money, as an American, our money is going to fund their army, not ours, their army. Our vets are homeless on the streets and they are living for free with healthcare, education, and free housing. I hope you guys know that. Don't do this for us, do it for yourselves. Thank you.
Anyone else wishing to speak?
Nobody online.
Thank you all.
Thank you.